which is slope formula. So just a little review. So what we did the other day is when you have this line, we want to find the slope of the line. We want to find the slope is also the rate of change. So the rate of change just tells us how steep this line is. And so if I had 2 points on my line, I'm going to do rise. So I'm going to go up. So rise, and then I'm going to go right. So rise over right, and more often you hear this say rise over run. Okay, so we did this the other day, so let's just look at it this way too. So let's say that my line goes this direction, right? So I have to pick my leftmost point. So if this is my first point, my leftmost point, remember everything's going to go left to right. So now if I do rise over run, I'm actually going down first. So this is going to be a negative number because I'm going down, and then again I'm going right. Okay? So the problem is, this is easy, it's super convenient when you have a graph, but what we're doing today is, all right, what happens when you don't have a graph and you have to find it algebraically? So that's what this means. So this is the slope formula, and we're going to find this algebraically. So we're going to use algebra for this. And we have 2 points. So if you look back on this, we have 2 points. So this would be point 1 and this would be point 2, left to right. On this one, this would be point 1, this would be point 2, left to right. Okay? So here, it doesn't matter. This is going to be any 2 points, and it doesn't matter the order of these 2 points when we do it algebraically. But our formula is super important. So our formula is m, remember m is our slope, and it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, if you look at this, let me write this again here so I can write over it. So here's what's important. When you pick a point, point 2 is x2, y2, and that's this one. These two points are x2, y2. My first point would be this guy, and that's this one. Now, it's also important to note that when we do this with subtraction. So we're going to subtract the 2. And you'll see what that looks like when we have a negative number. Okay, so let's practice this. So I've got 2 points. This one's first when it's listed, so I'm just going to list this as first. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and mark this x1, y1, because remember, an ordered pair is always xy. So if this is x1, y1, that makes this one x2, y2. Okay, so my formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, and now I'm just going to plug this all in. So my y2 value is this one. That's why if you label your points xy, it makes it super easy because we just plug it in. So this becomes 12. So y2 is 12 minus y1, which is 8. Now this goes over my x2 value. My x2 value is 3 minus my x1 value. My x1 value is negative 13. So if you see how I wrote this, it's still subtraction, right? My formula is subtraction, so I have to keep my formula as subtraction, but now I'm subtracting a negative. So if I rewrite this, I would have 12 minus 8 over 3 plus 13. Remember, when I have 2 negatives, a negative times a negative is a positive. So this becomes 4 over 16, and we have to have it in the most simplified form, so this becomes 1 over 4. So that is my final answer for that problem. Okay, let me do one more. So if I look at this, problem number 3, my slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to label this as x1, y1, and label this as x2, y2. So my y2 value is 3. My y1 value is 9. So 3 minus 9. And on the x's in the denominator, I have negative 10 minus a negative 15. So if I rewrite this, I have 3 minus 9 over negative 10 plus 15. Now, here's where it gets tricky. So this plugging everything in is pretty simple, right? As long as you label your points and you follow the formula. But now we have to do the adding or subtracting of integers. So I have 3 minus 9. So that gives me negative 6 on the top. 3 minus 9 is negative 6. And on the bottom, I have negative 10 plus 15, which is a positive 5. So my slope value here is negative 6 over 5. Now, let's go back to this a minute. If this is a positive number, then that means my slope for this line is going to go up. This is a negative number, so that means the slope for this line is going to go down. So this doesn't change. So if it's negative 6 over 5, this means I'm going to go down 6 and I'm going to go right 5. So with this one means I go up 1 and I go right 4. So this is how this is all kind of interchanged between when we look at it graphically and what we do algebraically. Okay? All right, I'm going to pause this video and I want you to do 5, 7, and 9, and then I'll pull it back up and you can check your answers. Okay, y'all, so here are the answers. And what you'll notice is when I get to this for number 5, I end up with a negative 5 over a negative 1. And remember, a negative over a negative is always a positive. So this is the same as 5 over 1. And we don't write it that way. We would just say that it's 5. Okay? With this one, you end up with negative 3 over 9. But you have to simplify, so it's negative 1/3. Okay? And then this last one is 5 over 4. All right, now, we have a couple of special cases. So if we look at this over here on the other side, we have these two special cases. So let's do these together. And the process doesn't change. So I'm going to write this over here because it's super important. N equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So this is my slope formula. You've got to know that. Okay, so this is x1, y1, and this is x2, y2. So what happens is I have negative 4 minus a negative 4 over 1 minus a negative 5. So this gives me negative 4 plus 4 over 1 plus 5. All right, so negative negative is a positive. On the bottom, negative negative is a positive. So when I add this across the top, I have negative 4 plus 4, or 4 minus 4, which is 0 over 6. Now, if you remember, we had this OK, which tells us that this is all right, I can have an answer, and because of this, my answer is 0. So this, 0 over 6, is not an answer. I know that line bothers some of you. I'm trying to not do that. So it's just 0 is my answer. Okay, so this is no good. 0 over 6 is not the answer. The answer is just 0. Okay, and go back and look at this OK thing, right? Okay, so let's do this one now. So my slope is negative 2 minus 3 over 7 minus 7. And this gives me negative 5 over 0. Now, I didn't write my x1, y1 and my x2, y2. I was looking at the positions, but it's a good idea to do this until you see the positions and you're solid on that. So negative 2 minus 3, y2 minus y1, over x2 minus x1, so 7 minus 7. Okay, so this is not the same as this. Here my zero's on the top, and on this one my zero's on the bottom. So if the 0 is on the bottom, we say this is not good, and my answer is undefined. So here's my answer, undefined. So remember this, n over the a number. So remember, a 0 underneath means it's undefined. It doesn't mean no solution. No solution's something else, but this just means that it's undefined. Okay, so I want you to do problems 13 and 14, and then we're going to move on. Okay, so what you should see here is that with this first one, we get a 0 in the denominator, so it's undefined. And with the second one, we get a 0 in the numerator, so it's undefined. Okay, now this is nice because it gives you 2 points, but sometimes you have to calculate the slope when you're given a table. Well, here you have 2 points. So this would be point 1, and this would be point 2. And that's why we label it x1, y1, and here we label it x2, y2, right? Because we have 2 points. Well, this is exactly the same thing, except for we don't have 2 points anymore. We have 4 points. So So it doesn't matter which 2 points I pick. I can pick this one and this one. I can pick 3, 4. I can pick any of these points. It doesn't matter. I can pick whatever. So what I would do is I would try to always pick anything that's positive or negative if you have a choice. So here you have a negative, positive, positive, negative. So I don't have a choice to do that. It makes it easier if you do, because then you don't have to worry about changing your sign. So I'm just going to pick these 2 middle points just to see what I get. Okay, so that makes this point x1 and this point y1, and that makes this one x2 and this one y2. So when I calculate my slope here, I have y2, so negative 9 minus 1, over 2 minus a negative 2. Now, when you look at this, it's not 2 minus 2. That's a big error. So do this, write the whole thing out if you need to. So what this simplifies to is negative 9 minus 1 over 2 plus 2. So negative 10 over 4, which simplifies to negative 5 over 2. And that's my final answer. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and do 19. So on 19, sorry, my pencil's dying. On 19, again, I can pick any 2. I'm going to pick these 2 because they're all positive. So this is my x1 and my y1, and this is my x2 and my y2. So my slope is 6 minus 6 over my x2, 8 minus 5. So this gives me 0 over 3. And remember, hold on. Yeah, that's right, 0 over 3. And what do we know about a 0 in the numerator? This is okay, so my answer here is just 0. Okay? Actually, let me just do one more. We'll do this one. It doesn't really matter, so here I did points 2 and 3, here I did points 3 and 4, so I'm just going to do points 1 and 2. All right? Now, if I pick any of these, if you wanted to do another one while I do this one, that's okay, you can do another one. Just check your answer. So this is my x1, and this is my x2, and my y1, and my y2. So y2, negative 1, minus y1, so minus a negative 8, over 0 minus a negative 3. So I have lots of negatives in there, right? So that's why it's super important to write your formula down. So remember, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so if I simplify this, I have negative 1 plus 8 over 0 plus 3. So on the top, 8 minus 1 is 7, and on the bottom, I have 3. This doesn't simplify, so that's my final answer. Okay, all right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let you practice this with your partner. And so you're going to get the homework 4. You're not going to turn this in for homework. I have the answer key already posted. But I want you to work, let's just do the odd problems for a few minutes, and then we're going to go on to the next lesson. So get homework 4 and work the odd problems, and then you can come back to this, and I'll post the key up here so you can check your answers. Okay, y'all, you're going to want to pause the video just so you can check all of your answers. The key to this is also posted on Schoology. So if you didn't get very far or you think you need more practice, go ahead and finish this at home, and then you can check your answers on Schoology. Make sure you've got your answers correct. And the big thing on this really is signs. Make sure when you change the signs in your formula, like on this very first one right here, negative 14 minus a negative, so this becomes a positive. Okay? All right, so we're going to go ahead and load up the second video over lesson 5.